I destroyed my marriage and it might be over, possibly due to Nazar or black magic. Hello, brothers and sisters. This might be a bit long, so please bear with me. I don't talk about these things with my parents or family, let alone posting it for strangers to see. But I am desperate. 26F, live in the subcontinent where there's a culture where nikah is not necessarily considered marriage. We have a separate wedding ceremony and walima, after which the bride can go live with her groom, regardless of whether they got their nikah earlier or not. In my case, I had my nikah in June 2024, and I am living with my parents right now as my wedding ceremony is to take place at the end of this month. And my husband, 29M, and I got our nikah within 3 months of knowing each other. That said, he is a good person, and I do not regret getting married to him at all. He is not perfect and has his own issues, but he tries very hard, and I love him more than anything. I try my best to keep him happy, and I for many, many years, weird things have been happening around me and with me. I would have very bad hallucinations, terrible nightmares, trouble sleeping. Often I would wake up with wounds and injuries and in places I don't remember going to sleep in. I even once developed a split personality of sorts. I would remember nothing of the episodes where She My Split would come out. I was extremely paranoid, and often during episodes, I would try to harm myself or the people around me. I've been diagnosed with psychosis because of it in the past, but I've also been told a few times by certain religious leaders that I am under the influence Nazar and Tawiz or black magic. That said, I do not have the best support system. I tried therapy multiple times and eventually went to a psychiatrist. When I was diagnosed with psychosis, I was doing my bachelor's degree in Turkey as a foreigner. The psychiatrist put me on an antipsychotic medication, which completely shut down my brain. I was also on very heavy antidepressants alongside this for depression, social anxiety, and PTSD. After that, the hallucinations stopped for a good a year, but my health took a toll. I gained 50, 60 kgs, my cycle was completely disrupted, and I developed many health issues from the rapid weight gain. I would on and off keep having feelings of fear and heaviness and terrible nightmares, but it was nothing too bad, nothing compared to how things were pre medication. After I was off the antipsychotics, which I took for about 2 months, things were better. I focused hard on getting my health back on track. I lost 40 kgs, got a very good job, came back to my home country, focused on family, and felt ready to look for a partner for marriage. Everything started again around my nikah, the hallucinations of people or entities that are out to harm me, the severe depression, the heaviness, the insomnia. I could hear things and see things that weren't there. I started getting extremely paranoid. I would often harm myself, and I have episodes where I do not remember anything. Sometimes I would wake up with wounds I don't know came from where. Sometimes I would wake up in places I don't remember falling asleep at. I would sometimes not sleep for 2, 3 days straight. And that mixed with my overall depression would result in bouts of hysteria and bitterness and crankiness. I am also on a birth control pill for my PCOS and insulin resistance, which has depressive side effects. I force myself to indulge in my hobbies or journal or socialize, but my forcing myself makes it worse. I also no longer have a job. I'm trying my best with namaz and zikra and sadka and other things, but it's become very difficult. I was extremely regular with my prayers and zikr before my nikah, and I had very strong faith, but I've been having a very tough time forcing myself to pray or perform zikr. This has also become a source of much self-hatred. I have been advised to keep playing Surah Baqarah on repeat when I try to sleep, but every time I do so, I am met with excruciating pain in my head and severe nausea. Every day I decide I will pray today, And then as the day goes, I find myself incredibly sick and with zero motivation. And then I berate myself for being so pathetic and having such weak iman. Last night, I had another episode. My husband and I had a long disagreement, which lasted a couple days. I was also suffering from PMDD. I tried to kill myself. During the episode, which I don't remember, I called my husband, and in his fear, he informed his parents, who in turn called mine, and my father came to my room. I am not close to my parents. They don't believe in mental health issues, and they also are very skeptical of black magic. They have constantly berated me for having gained weight despite me trying to explain to them why it happened because of the medication and everything. But they don't believe me and consider this a sign of a weak mind. I still feel imposter syndrome writing this down. For many years, I have hesitated sharing these things with people in fear of judgment or disbelief. Thank you for reading this post up until this post. If it is possible for you, may you please pray for me. My husband is taking a break from me and is not responding to my messages. I know I should give him his space, and I am trying to because he deserves it. It's still very difficult. I don't know if I'm going to get married. My parents and family is being very hostile with me. Please, if you could pray for ease, pray whatever is bothering myself and my family to go away. Please pray my wedding happens successfully, that I become a better wife to my husband, and I no longer burden him with these issues. I have heard you never know whose prayer gets answered. If you could spare some time and pray for me, I would be very grateful. I am very alone and in so much pain. I have been crying consistently for so many days. I had hoped things would get better when the wedding happens and I can finally live with my husband as he is my partner, my confidant, and my other half. And I feel happier and less lonely when I'm physically with him. But now I feel hopeless that we would ever get to that point. Thank you so much, dear brothers and sisters. I am going to visit a psychiatrist again, but I am open to any and all other suggestions as well. If you have any, I am not fully convinced, or rather, not sure if this is Nazar or black magic, but I also don't have anyone who can guide me. Maybe it's all just mental health. I'm Thank you so, so much. I hope you all have a great year. And story two, avoiding intimacy. Me, 26F, got married to 32M. We had a separate rental apartment that we were living at. I was contributing to the half rent with his parents' home nearby, as his home did not have accommodations for us. Bedroom with connected washroom, basic requirements of a newlywed. Anyways, our union of living together only lasted a month and a half as things went south really fast, which makes me wonder if this was a prevailing medical slash performance issue in him that resulted in a lack of intimacy. He was a little cold towards me days after the wedding, and then during the honeymoon, things were good. However, myself being non-experienced sexually and a virgin, I did at times feel things were off, as he would last quite long and would not always finish, perhaps due to the aid of some medication. Anyways, back from the honeymoon, our intimate life did seem to rapidly decline, as after works, our evenings would be to spend family time over at his parents' home until nighttime. And when we would come back to our place, he would show that he is tired and ready for sleep. Friday nights and weekends would be about the same. Wherever we come from, the times where I have gotten more dolled up, we would come back to the parents' home and watch movies together as a family late until nighttime, and then simply go back to sleep at our apartment. Like, what newlywed guy wants to watch movies with the family late until nighttime when he'd rather spend some husband slash wife time to take care of his sexual needs, and while having a wife? There are many instances where we would just watch TV shows with his sisters until late night, or be randomly out in coffee shops killing time and only go to the bedroom for sleep. When we finally started watching TV shows together in our own apartment, he wouldn't show any affection despite the privacy we had. Or at times he would show he's really stressed about something, stresses he refused to share with me, while respecting his wishes on the importance of spending family time and family bonding. His demands for family bonding became bizarre too, where he was starting to instruct me to specifically stand in the kitchen with his mom in the name of bonding, offering to help clean the dishes, making plans with his sisters to go out and spend time to press me, seeing them almost every day in the family home. Like, it almost seemed like he was using petty, illogical household issues to create a dispute between us and mask the real issue. All in all, it made me question whether I was attractive enough for him, made me doubt myself, made me feel lonely as I was literally passing time with him, made me feel undesirable, and his behavior towards me was resentful. Um, that per him, we spend an unhealthy amount of time with each other. His financial stresses have gone through the roof as I came into his life. Because of me, he has to be away from his family and friends, wondering if anyone has experienced the same. Story 3. My husband, 19, won't stop cheating on me and lying to me. 20F. And I don't know how to get him to stop. This is my first ever post. I'm using a throwaway account, so please forgive me if I don't post it correctly. So, I, 20F, have been with my husband, 19 Min, for 3 years. We have been married for 6 months. I have had a consistent problem, and I'm not sure what to do. A few months before our wedding, I found out he was cheating on me with another girl for months. Last night, I found out he has been cheating on me for the last. So I found out 2 weeks ago that I am, in fact, pregnant. So I know that my emotions are very strong currently. So over the last few months, my husband has been very protective over his phone. He does things like sleeping with it hidden in between the mattress or in his pocket or somewhere hidden. Anytime I grabbed his phone, he would run or jump to it and wrestle it out of my hands. Last night, I was paranoid and I grabbed it while he was asleep. The first thing I checked was his Discord because that was where all his messages with the last girl he cheated on me with was. I found out through the messages that he was e-dating 2 other girls. I regret it, but I did end up slapping him in the face and yelling at him. I tried to leave the apartment, but he grabbed me and kept twisting and squeezing my arms until I sat down with him. I told him to explain, and he said it was a joke, but to me, I don't believe it at all. And he told the girls, I love you. He bought Atham food and had it delivered. Send them good morning, lovely. Good night, my love. I love you. I miss you. And NSFW messages constantly. He had a deeper talk with one of them and told them he's excited to meet her family and that he's glad her sister likes her new boyfriend, Baka, my husband. After arguing until late the next morning, I was upset still and got even more upset about him being inconsistent with his story. And I told him that I don't want to see him anymore and he is going to sleep in the living room. He told me that he never cheated on me and that he never did anything wrong. My question for y'all is, what am I supposed to do? I have a baby on the way and I don't feel comfortable with the idea of a divorce. How do I get through this? Um, TLDR to long, a summary is my husband won't stop cheating and lying to me. And since I have a baby on the way, I don't know what to do to. Story 4, feeling like I ruined my mom's life by breaking off this engagement. I just need to get this off my chest because I am riddled with guilt for my mom. I need some comforting words. For context, I was engaged to my cousin from my mom's side. His mom and my mom are sisters for a few months. He lives in a different country, and I was supposed to move there last year. However, many problems occurred between his mom, his sisters, and I. These problems made it clear to me that I would be up and leaving my entire life behind to live around people who will control every aspect of my life, and I couldn't do that to myself. So, as the day got closer, my doubts and darkness about leaving grew, and I broke it off. It was such a difficult thing to do because I knew it would affect my mom and her sister's relationship. I tried very hard to push the problems off and accept the marriage I was getting myself into for my mom's sake, but leaving genuinely felt like the worst thing I could do. Not to mention, I prayed so much istikhara, and the doubts just continued to grow. I could go on and on about the problems that happened, but this would be a very long post. Think typical MIL and SIL issues, not knowing their boundaries, and a fiance who refuses to tell them to stay in their lane. And I was right because everything blew up in my mother's face. Her sister basically called me a YA and accused me of not being a virgin and hung up the phone. However, that is not even the problem. The problem is the way they've turned absolutely everyone against my mother, blaming her for the marriage not working out. Her other sisters are all upset with her. And from what we hear, they've gone on a massive smear campaign, just talking so much about me, my mom, and my sisters, awful things about our honor and our character, running our reputation through the mud because they were afraid we were going to tell everyone the drama that they caused that resulted in the breakup. My mom has been so hurt by all of this. I can tell she feels so hurt and lonely because her sisters treat her like she doesn't exist. No one has asked her about how she feels or if she's doing okay. I feel awful. I lay awake sometimes and wish that I could go back and just suck it up, leave and go be in that marriage for her. And the times they do talk to her, it's just to tell her how wrong we were for shaming the family and breaking off the engagement. And it always leaves her with eyes full of tears and a broken heart. I don't know if there is a way I can fix this. Please make dawah for us. Allah is the most just. Story 5. Am I overthinking things or is this actually normal in a marriage? I am a 29-year-old male. My wife is 29 years old as well. We're both from a Middle Eastern backgrounds. We have a beautiful 2.5-year-old daughter who I love more than anything in the world. My wife and I have a lot of ups and downs in our marriage. I know it's normal for any relationship to have those moments, but sometimes I wonder, is this normal or is it beyond normal now? A little bit of background about my upbringing, life, and problems, which I hope I can get some advice from people. I moved to Australia when I was 2 years old. I grew up in a strict household with my father being more cultural than religious, unfortunately. However, he's still praying and following the religion closely as well. Uh, we have family here. All my mother's side of the family is here, and some family members of my father's side. I was a good student in school, getting good grades, and as time progressed, getting to year 10 onwards, I started to slack as I was going through the phase of being out a lot, friends, having girlfriends, and everything. I look back now and tell myself I wasted my time. Um, anyway, I started slacking through VCE and ultimately finished school. Still managed to get into a good course at university, but I did not finish. I started working in trade and have been since. My parents were always on my back telling me to do this course, don't be this, don't do that. They controlled my life for a very long time. All my decisions in life were always through them. I couldn't take control and do what I wanted. I kept jumping from course to course without finding interest in any of it. Eventually, this went on, and I still haven't finished anything, to now I kept giving up. Mentally, I was drained and tired from my upbringing and issues I had going on. While all of this was happening, I met my wife. We talked and got to know each other and eventually got married. But because my parents are cultural and wanted to pick a spouse for me at the time, it took a big toll on me mentally. And it took 5 years until my parents eventually gave in and we got married. My wife used to be a very caring, sweet, and respectful person, and I love her more and more each day. While we were engaged and Islamically married, we bought a house which we wanted to move into once we had our wedding. When I broke this news to my parents, and believe me, I struggled so hard to do it. I don't know why, but I think from a young age when my parents were strict, I lived in fear with them. My mom would always say, "Don't do this or don't do that," because your dad would get angry. So out of fear from childhood, I still have this fear and low confidence when I need to talk or discuss things with my parents. They made a big scene and wasn't very happy about it. I thought parents would be proud of their children to buy a home, and being in Australia, it isn't easy nowadays, but we managed to do it. So my father convinced us to stay and live with them, which we did and have been till now. We're going into our 4th year of living together with my parents. Now, this is where the issues come. Mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws don't get along, and no matter who is good and who is bad. This is something I learned. My parents started to ease up when I got married at 25. But before that, he was totally in my face. I totally understand now, being older, why my parents were how they were when we were younger. So we can grow into good people. But the way they did it took a massive effect on me. My other brother, who is 4 years younger than me, is a hothead, so they couldn't control him. Um, but I don't know, somehow they managed it with me because 'cause I'm very patient and I am respectful. But I still have that fear that I did as a child. I don't have the confidence to talk or bring up issues with them. I never had that bond growing up or had my parents as my friends. 4 years have gone by, and there's always issues my wife has with my mother. She said this, she said that, she acted like this or acted like that. And for 4 years, I've been asking my wife to be patient as I have been. When she wasn't happy with something, she insists that I go bring it up with them as to why they've acted. Or I go into panic mode, anxiety, heart pumping, and a million thoughts running through my mind. Um, as much as my wife tells me I am scared of my parents and I deny it, but I think deep down I am. It's how I was brought up. And even when I do talk to my parents, I stutter and I can't put the words in my mouth. If it's an issue about something or whatever, I get emotional and my eyes get teary and I can't help it. Something sad I watch or see or read, I get upset and emotional. I don't know if it's normal. Then I get abused by my wife mentally and verbally, saying I'm not a man, I'm useless, I'm this, and it goes on and on. Yeah, it's always about her. She never asks about me when I am sad or upset or when I'm just in a quiet mood. There's a million thoughts in my head about work, about moving, about our daughter, about my parents as they get older, everything. She's extremely abusive, swears, puts me down, just completely disrespects me. But me, on the other hand, I sit there and I take it. I am never disrespectful towards her. I never swear at her. I never say anything hurtful to her apart from when I playfully just talk about her features and make fun of her. She takes offense to it a lot and then gives it to my life again anyway. Um, I am always the patient and quiet person. It's how I am all my life. I take it up the chin all the time. Um, at times I feel sorry for her because I don't know if she realizes what she's doing or is the times where I feel sorry for her is because she was brought up in a violent household. Father was abusive towards the mother, fighting. One of her 4 brothers was drug addicted, committing crimes and being arrested in jail. He is doing much better and into his 4th year plumbing apprenticeship. One of 2 other sisters left the country and ran from the family. Mother and father still has a bad relationship kind of thing. To me, I think she has had a more traumatic experience, and she has always told me that it has an effect on her mentally as well, which I completely understand, and which is why I'm always patient and I let her blow off her steam on me at times. But she takes it very far where I am upset with her words and I tell her that she's taking it too far, but she still goes on. It's been 4 years into our marriage and away from the toxic environment in her family. Um, but now she's dealing with my mom here. I know personally that my mom is in the wrong 70% of the time, but the other 30%, I know she is at fault too. She never listens to me when I tell her something, always an answer back or justifies herself. Um, when she tells me, go to confront my parents about something that she didn't like or whatever, a lot of the times it's something that you shouldn't even be making a big deal about, but she does. Um, Confrontation with my parents doesn't work. I've tried it in the past. They think they're perfect. Their egos are way up high. They never admit they're wrong. They always have a justification for anything and everything. So I tell my wife every time that there's no point because they won't change their ways or accept they're wrong. But she gives it to my life anyway. Yes, I did bring up moving out again a couple days ago, and my father hasn't taken it too well. And reason being is, I believe, is because he doesn't want to be away from his granddaughter. He'll move mountains for her and has spent a lot of time with her. And on the other hand, is that I'm the only obedient son of his, and the other two are no good for him. He wants us all to live together with the wives and future wives, but it doesn't work that way here. Yes, back at home it might, but not here. Um, but anyway, I I'm just sick and tired of all the abuse I get from my wife, that she says as much as I try not to let it get to me, and for me it does because I am some sensitive and emotional. It hurts me a lot. But she doesn't care. But she doesn't care. Never, never, ever in all these years we've been married have I ever heard her apologize to me for anything. She's never admitted she's wrong. Always acts perfect and says everything is my fault. She doesn't do anything to make me happy except only want her own happiness. I do everything she says, do chores around the house, do most of the caring for our daughter myself. I do so much for her, and she does very little for me, barely anything apart from wash my clothes for me. But that too, she does because she has to wash her own and our daughter's. But if that could be left for me, she'd make me do that too. I do everything she says to keep her quiet. I help her with everything, literally everything. But all I get in return is I'm useless, I'm nothing. I'll get nowhere in life. Swearing. Also, we have a huge intimacy problem. She doesn't like it. She believes it's not important in a relationship. Whereas I am very sexually active, I'd be lucky to get intimate with her once a week. Sometimes it goes for months. When I ask for it, it's always excuses. I'm tired, I'm this or I'm that. I don't get it as much as I would like to. And when I get moody about it, like any man would, she would start getting defensive, saying things like, I'm not your sex toy to come to me when you want to, when you do nothing for me and my mental health. Her mental health means dealing with my parents for her. Sometimes I get the feeling that she wants me to disrespect my parents or have an argument with them or something. I could be wrong, but I don't know. At times I feel like we're probably better off getting a divorce, something. But then again, I can't do that because I love her and I love my daughter and I can't stand not seeing her for a single second. She always says that she regrets marrying me. I don't know if she means it or she's saying it out of anger, but doesn't mean it. But to me, it feels like she means it. Recently, I have been standing up to my parents for her, in particular to my mom. She doesn't have much issues with my dad because he's a guy and doesn't give about petty things. Even though I struggle to do that, I still sometimes end up doing it. I've slowly started to find my feet in doing so, but with a lot of difficulty. But yeah, she doesn't appreciate my efforts. Um, I have attempted suicide when I was younger, around 18, 19. I fought my inner demons to get through that phase and move on from it. have body scars, but at times like this, when I get this constant abuse from my wife, I start having these thoughts again. But the only thing that holds me back is my daughter. I don't know what to do or how to deal with her. She doesn't make things easy, blames me when my mom does something or says something. She is abusive and it takes a huge toll on me, but I'm just good at hiding it, as I always have been. I am always calm and respectful, and I have a quiet approach with her, but she's the complete opposite. I am so lost. I have a million thoughts running through my mind. For anyone who's reading this, I'm sorry for it being so long, but I hope someone out there can shed some light and give some advice on how to handle this. There is more to it, and maybe some things I've missed or forgotten. But yeah, life's tough for me at the moment, and I struggle to deal with it. But I am trying with her and with life.